Ads and Sales, a study of advertising and selling from the standpoint of the new principles of scientific management, by Herbert Newton Casson. Chapter 8. The Building of an Advertisement. 4 things at least you must keep in mind when you begin to build your advertisement. If it is to be a success, the public must be made to 1. Look, 2. Like, 3. Learn, 4. Buy. How to attract the eye. That is the first problem. No matter what astonishing facts are in your advertisement, it is no use to the people who don't see it. This rule seems to be too self-evident to mention, but if you glance through the back pages of any magazine, you will notice that several of the advertisements are practically invisible. Some have small white letters on a black background, which the tired eyes of city people cannot notice. Some have a fashion plate face, which is to most eyes a warning to keep off. Some have a 600-word sermon so tedious that if a man who wrote it had to read it to his wife, she would have forthwith gone to sleep. And others have a very large picture of an article that is too commonplace to be visible. Some advertisers are so self-centered that they plan an advertisement as though it were to be the only one in the magazine. They forget that it has to compete for attention against 100 or more other ads. Also, they forget that while every mother sheep knows its own lamb, it is also true that all lambs look alike to the outside public. A Philadelphia mechanic can pick out his own cottage in a group of several hundred that look exactly the same. He can see his house standing out from all the others, as though it were glowing with luminous paint. But to a passing visitor, his house would be as invisible as one tree in a distant forest. The headline should not consist of more than 4 words, for the reason that the human eye can only see 4 things at once. This is a highly valuable fact, which has been ascertained by experiments in psychology. It is not generally known, as you may often count more than a dozen words in a headline. It is a blunder fairly common, even among advertising experts themselves, to send out an advertisement that has not a point in it to catch the eye of an uninterested person, and which looks like a blur to the general public. In the matter of colors, it has been learned by psychologists that the color that attracts most eyes is red. The second best color is green, and the third best is black. The best known device to catch the eye is a round spot that is bright red. This fact has already been seized upon by the alert Japanese, and the result is that Japan now has the most efficient flag in the world, a red sun in a white field. If the advertisement is not illustrated, and not in colors, the catchwords must be especially well chosen. Otherwise, the ad will be born to blush unseen. The National Casket Company recently sent an advertisement broadcast which had as a headline, "The Purpose." This, of course, was as bad as it could be. When there are 450,000 words in the English language, there is no necessity to use the very commonest. The best headline is the one which appeals vividly and personally to every possible buyer and to no one else. At the present time, there are few better than the wonderfully effective catchphrases of the Scranton Correspondence School, such as, "Look here, son, are you the boss of your own job? Are you one of the hands? Will old age find you still drudging along? What are you worth from the neck up? Step out of the dinner pail class. Let us raise your salary." Raised. Such headlines whip and sting every wage worker who is young, ambitious, and poorly paid. Everyone is a home thrust. If there is 5% of manhood in a dawdling young clerk, such ads as these will wake it up. This school, by the way, now claims to have more than 1 million scholars, and no wonder. If a headline can be made timely, so much the better. There are days when the whole nation is thinking of one matter, and it is always best to follow the line of least resistance. The New York Telephone Company has for several years made a point of advertising on the day following every great snowstorm, calling attention to the convenience of telephony at such a time. The Gold Dust Twins, too, during the excitement over the success of the Wright brothers, appeared as the Wright brothers, spelled R-I-G-H-T, on a little aeroplane of their own. All such current topic headlines are effective if the inference is not strained and if there is no anticlimax. Whenever possible, an advertisement should have a news interest. Few ads have a more powerful, cumulative effect than a series of bulletins, each containing some legitimate news that is of interest to the public. There is no good reason why more of the news of the company itself should not be given to the public. A public service corporation might go far towards humanizing itself by announcing once a year the number of its births, marriages, and deaths. It might print the picture of its oldest employee or of a half-dozen foremen who have made the best showing during the year. If some of our big, unpopular trusts had known enough to advertise in this way, they would not find themselves so often in the repair shop. Once in a while, not often, a series of advertisements can be planned which will have a serial interest. They will not only attract the public when they appear, they will do more. They will get the public waiting and anxious for them. Such a series is superb advertising, but it can very seldom be worked out. It requires a very special combination of occasion, commodity, and genius. Above all else, in planning an advertisement that will catch the public, aim low. The poet was not alluding to advertising when he said he aims too low who aims beneath the stars. Be simple. Avoid abstract words. Avoid long words. Avoid all such dead words as fundamentally, essentially, primarily, strategic, accessories, etc. Don't say, as the Bigelow carpet man does, that you have exclusive manufacturing facilities. Far better to say, our factory is as long as a Lusitania, and it cost nearly as much. Always remember that there are very few birds on the top of the tree, more in the branches, and millions in the grass. Aim low. A nickel a day pays a 5% dividend on $300. The highest building in the world was built by nickels and dimes, the Woolworth Building. If you ignore all your customers, except those who had a college education, you will fail. The great mass of people, rich and poor, have simple minds, and you must talk to them in a simple way. Aim low. The second problem is to make the public like your commodity. Merely to attract attention is not enough. If your advertisement is in a shabby or disreputable magazine, you have done yourself more harm than good. A soup advertisement which pictures the chef with his finger in the pot is a very efficient warning against that brand of soup. The greatest care must constantly be taken not to offend the feelings of any class of people. One electric lighting company, for instance, recently displayed in a southern city an array of large posters with this headline, Fiat Lux. The clergymen of the city at once took offense, declaring that this use of a sacred phrase was irreverent, and the posters were taken down. An advertisement must be pleasing. People will go to a horror play. They will read a horror book, but they will seldom buy goods because of a horror advertisement. Now and then the element of tragedy may be used, and to good effect in an appeal for buyers, but it must be introduced in a very tactful and gentle way. This is one of the evidences that good business is the best thing in the world, that it does not appeal to the motives of either force or fear. The most likable advertisement is the one that is like a mirror, so that when the reader looks at it, he sees himself. It is always effective to appeal to those experiences which are really very common, but which each of us believes is peculiar to himself. The public, need I say, is a bromide. If you can expose one of its innumerable little oddities of mind or temperament, you can give your advertisement all the force and directness of a personal letter. The composers of comedies are well aware of this source of popularity and often draw upon it. A single little quip of this sort, such as, "I can't do a thing with my hair when I've washed it," will sometimes swing a play through to success. It may be taken as a safe rule that any object that is wholly familiar will not be noticed by the eye, that an object that is wholly unfamiliar will strike the eye unpleasantly, and the object which both attracts and pleases is a familiar object in some new dress. There must be the mingling of the new and the old to get the largest results. Home, Sweet Home, with variations, that is the one song which always and everywhere appeals to us all. If the variations are new and brilliantly executed, so much the better. Several years ago, I applied this rule to the cover designs of a certain popular magazine. It had previously been using cover designs of an artistic nature, which are invariably too weak and washed out to be effective. Moreover, an artist thinks only of artists. He seldom thinks of the public except with hostility or contempt. His ideal picture is one that must be studied for an hour, whereas the ideal cover design is one that can be caught at a glance. In place of the artist's fancies, I suggested a series of simple designs in strong colors, each one being some well-known object in a new or unexpected way. Since then, this magazine, a 15-center, has increased tremendously in circulation and has attracted much attention because of its striking covers. The third problem is to make the public learn the main facts about your commodity. Without this, you have built your house of advertising on the sand. A man who expects to be doing business at the same stand for the next 20 years should not advertise as though he had a traveling circus. It is not enough for his ad to be conspicuous and pleasing. It must at the same time carry its little fact. To mysteriously hint that there's a reason is not enough. You must pick out the one best reason and plant it in the public mind. If this main reason can be put into a phrase, it should be repeated in every advertisement. Repetition and novelty. Novelty and repetition. These are the two standard methods of teaching the public a trade habit. Excitement dies out, but knowledge remains. This is the fact that advises us to make an advertisement something more than a shout or a vaudeville performance. When 20 piano manufacturers are clamoring, "My pianos are the best," the one who can get the best reasons into the public mind will win the trade. Instead of vaguely claiming superiority in every detail, it is much wiser to be specific and to teach people at least one simple practical reason. It is better to say, "My piano suits the voice," than "My piano is perfect." It is one of the most hopeful signs of the times that people today really want the best goods. Americans buy as much quality as they can afford, and many of them buy more. There you have in a sentence the secret of the so-called higher cost of living. It is not true in any general way that goods are dearer, but it is true that we are all demanding a higher quality of goods. And therefore, an advertisement must point out in detail the various signs of quality. The best goods for the many. That is the American idea, and it is new in the history of the world. No other nation ever tried it. In older countries, the commercial policy is the best goods for the aristocrats and cheap stuff for the masses. But it is practically one of our national slogans that there is nothing too good for the man who has the price, and consequently, there has been a movement towards quality all along the line. European countries, so far as I have been able to notice, still depend upon the poster style of advertisement, which is very primitive and barbaric. But in the United States, our advertising is rapidly developing into a vast educational factor used for the commercial instruction of the people. The fourth and last problem is to make the public buy. This is the proof of success. No matter what brilliant theories an advertiser may have, no matter what a hubbub his advertisements create, his work is just a common, ordinary failure if the people do not buy. The most immediately effective advertisement is, of course, the now or never kind. It is this idea that gives force to the bargain sale. The public is told that certain goods are marked down for one day only. Promoters who sell stock use this method very often, announcing that the stock will be raised 5 points next week. This is also the standard argument of evangelists and insurance agents, who invariably give warning that tomorrow may be too late. The most usual method of getting direct results is to offer a free booklet. This was quite effective until it became so common. Today, every family that has ventured to answer a dozen advertisements is being flooded with booklets and all manner of follow-up circulars. With such competition, a booklet must be very unique or very clever to produce a sale. A surprising number of merchants are offering a free trial of the goods. This is the old Sam Slick plan of leaving the goods in the customer's house for a month and knowing that what a family once learns to use it will want to retain. It is sometimes necessary when the article is new, but it is a costly and messy method of selling goods, unfair to the merchant and demoralizing to the customer. Customers, like children, can be babied and spoiled. One fact is clear, that if advertisements could be made more effective, there would be less after expense because of booklets, circulars, goods on trial, etc. Too many advertisers are satisfied to land prospects instead of buyers. They merely try to start a customer, not to make a sale. And there is a need to reiterate, just at this time, that the aim of an advertisement is not to get answers, but to make sales. Perhaps the most frequent cause of failure in selling is the vague "this is for nobody in particular" aspect of the advertisement. There is no aim, no direct appeal. Many able advertisers seem to wholly forget the two main classes of buyers, the farmers and the women. There are 11 millions of the one and 25 millions of the other, and yet many advertisers have never thought of putting in a headline or a phrase that would persuade a woman or a farmer. The farmer and the farmer's wife are most likely to buy goods by mail. They have plenty of money. One American harvest would buy the whole country of Belgium, king and all. The income of the American farmer is $250 a heartbeat, day and night. Few advertisers seem to have realized this. And when they do, they will find that the immediate results of their advertisements will be handsomely increased. The farmer and the woman, these are the two main buyers of advertised goods. End of chapter 8.